Here we go. Okay, so we're officially recording. My name is Tracy Pepe. Thank you for joining us today at Smelling Pink regarding an innovative program that we have been doing for a few years now. It's called Scent Therapy. And I'm going to give you some highlights. And I'm going to talk about a little bit of my journey, how we got here, but also how we do some self-care, which is a big movement that has shifted for me. And I've had a lot of outreach from families and individuals participating. And so we will talk about how scent therapy kind of came about and where we're going. So there's one more lady who has just joined us, which is wonderful. And there we are. So welcome. So scent therapy, I'm going to, oh, well, we got another one. Sorry, no problem. It is officially 3 o'clock, so I'll wait. There was 8 people on the call today, and we have 1, 2, 3, 5. So there may be 3 more coming in, but I will start. As I was saying before, ladies, this is being recorded. I will send you a copy once the recording is completed. And so if you would like to share this with your teams or next steps, please feel free. And so who am I? My name is Tracy Pepe. I am a perfumer of 35 years. I'm trained in Germany. Prior to opening Smelling Pink, I ran an international corporation in which we created some of the largest custom fragrances for some of the most unique projects where we scented spaces. My work is specifically about cognition, how it impacts consumer behavior. Our custom smells or the scents that I created were iconic. They made you spend more money in a grocery store or rebooked at a hotel, or gave you a better perception of eating in a restaurant. The work I did in our industry of fragrance, we watch it, research it, study it, and have been for decades. And then something happened of COVID-19, which created a scare for my industry, in particular for perfumers, that we could potentially lose our sense of smell. And that is literally like the most devastating thing any one of us could think about. And so we watched this industry drastically, as well as a lot of the work I did was in the hospitality industry, which was shut down. And so I pivoted. I also had some things happening at the time where I am a mother of a son on the spectrum. He is 33. But I also am the caregiver of my older sister who's schizophrenic bipolar, and we are actually in the transitioning this week of moving into long-term care. So there were a lot of moving pieces that were happening, combining losing a business that I had owned, generated, and created with locations at Pearson in Toronto and in New York. And so everything was falling apart for me, and I pivoted to see the good of all this, of the work that I was doing within this industry. There was another aspect of isolation that was brewing predominantly in the seniors' care, and I started to see how scent could be a valuable tool to impact people's day-to-day lives. This is my sister, Linda. She is transitioning, as I said, and these images here are some of the workers that I work with in some of the homes that we do programs for. And the whole point of what happened last month, because I pivot quite regularly, is you can't pour from an empty cup, because I was becoming exhausted with running my business, taking care of my sister, doing some of the transitions. She was in a terrible car accident with Wheel-Trans last year. And all of this started to really build up on me. And so someone that I was speaking to in the healthcare profession had noticed that I was pretty calm and asked me, how do I do what I do? And I forget that I have been using scent and scent therapy as part of my journey. That's the premise of my TED Talk. for decades, and I often forget and I don't share enough. And so I took it upon myself to start creating some really interesting, fun videos that are 3 to 5 minutes long about filling up your cup, working with caregivers in particular, individuals who are in the sandwich generation of dealing with families, but also loved ones that may be older, and helping the healthcare workers, because one of the benefits that a lot of my homes are starting to see is the staff are really engaged and really like the program, and it gives them a little more control. It gives them some tools that are very different, and it's fun. And we can always add a little more fun to it. So this is where that kind of started. And for the filling up your cup and extending this more to a consumer base, offering more webinars, and really trying to extend some support to individuals. Hold on. There we go. This is not aromatherapy. And this is one thing I really like to clarify right from the get-go, because a lot of people assume, because we do use natural essential oils, we do work with plants. These are called fragrant raw materials in the fragrance industry. A lot of my raw materials come from various different sources, and it is something that we focus on. But there is the distinct difference between aromatherapy and scent therapy is we're not putting any application whatsoever onto anyone's skin. We are not making any claims whatsoever about physiological impacts that a plant may or may not do. Our focus is research that has been collected actually all over the world. COVID opened up the door for that. There's a lot more research that is coming out. But basically, scent does two things. And it either stimulates the brain to release various different hormones, or it calms the brain to release various different hormones. It is actually not necessarily the plant itself that is creating the physiological impact on the body. It is the olfactive aspect of the brain. And this is the distinction factor. And we have this confusion where people are trying to figure out, I have anxiety, so what do I use? Well, we know with the research, there are some plants that are more receptive to helping, but it doesn't mean that it's limited to. We have targeted the 20 plants in our group in the kit, that because I can stand as a professional within the industry from a science standpoint, regulatory compliance standpoint, and a safety aspect, that I know that when we work with these smells, the impacts are profound and you will see some changes. However, really and truthfully understanding what you're trying to accomplish and how the scent is impacting the human, the individual, yourself, is very important. The other aspect to this is scent therapy is very much about emotional connection, and it's very person-centered. We're not really worried about verbal communication when it comes to this because nobody's wrong. And the really fascinating aspect to how scent therapy really is quite an effective tool is it's instantaneous. It happens in less than a second. And you can actually see from body language from individuals, you can see from engagement from individuals, what is happening. This is a repetition. This is repeat, rinse and repeat, is like I like to say. And you're documenting the information because for many of you, this will be the first time you've ever even considered scent as a part of a cognitive tool. And this is an opportunity to start to track your patient's behaviors to determine some things. With the limbic system, that is home to scent memories. And scent memories cannot be reversed. They cannot be wiped out. They're locked inside the brain, which is connected to the limbic system. That limbic system is home to emotion and feelings, which is the critical component. And for those of you that are understanding how dementia works, for example, the frontal part of the brain, short-term memory, scent doesn't impact that. The scent memory aspect, the memories come from the older part. And so this is where long-term memory and scent memories are really connected. And I cannot tell you how many times we have been in situations with individuals who haven't really communicated or engaged in a very long time. We bring out a scent and all of a sudden they're present and they're in the room. It only is for a few minutes until the memory fades, but it's that trigger. The science and the research is what my team is really interested in, and this is where we will be going in the future. But right now, our focus is to help educate as many individuals as we possibly can, to provide the tools and the support as possible as much as we can. One of my favorite chefs is Gordon Ramsay, and Gordon Ramsay changed mission and changed courses around the time with COVID, as he was not focused on owning a Michelin star anymore, restaurant. He was really focused on educating about food, flavor, and cooking, because it's something that is being lost in historical generations to come. And it is, and you see it predominantly. Some of the best chefs in the world, unless you go to chef school. And so he took out this outrageous educational component. Now, he's fantastic, obviously, on Hell's Kitchen. It's one of my favorites. But the goal about what he was trying to do is to get the millennials to learn how to make hollandaise sauce, which to some of us who know how to make that, pretty simple. But for some of us who don't, that is a complicated, exotic French flavor. Smell is very similar. And so my goal is to teach as many people as I possibly can. And I was brought to my attention during COVID that my children were using the techniques I had trained them for all these years. And they said to me, Mom, nobody really knows what you do. You really need to start sharing this to help people. And so this is my ambition, and this is where we're at right now. And so this is how the program has come about. We are 4 years in. We're in approximately 650 beds in Ontario, working in Alberta right now and British Columbia. And our goal is to teach you and your teams as much as we possibly can. My mouse is not working. There we go. So, scent-free. First question that usually pops up, and scent-free is something that we talk about very quite a bit, actually, because scent-free policies began specifically in North America through an HR component due to stress and frustration, because scent is such a trigger. And these policies were put into place probably 30 years ago. So a lot of policies need to be updated, specifically from COVID, since we learned so much about scent as a diagnostic tool, specifically for a disease like COVID. And so what I do is I have a specific webinar for HR or individuals that need to understand how to update it. That is something we will go through for sure. If you want it, it's free of charge. It's something that I do. It depends on the home. Some home has very strict policies, other homes don't. We teach about scent friendly. We talk about the difference between allergies and scent sensitivities, and there is a huge difference. Most people are not properly diagnosed. In fact, they're self-diagnosed. So we talk about that. We also then talk about the difference between alcohols and solvents and why the perception is natural, but natural is not always better. And so how do we perceive, what do we do, and how do we create a framework for a good, healthy policy for an environment of staff to utilize with scent? With aromatherapy, you are often using diffusers or scenting. We're not doing that. The project is actually a one-on-one, and it is a volunteer. And if an individual wants to participate. So we are restricting how scent is being put into an environment. We're not suggesting by any means that you scent a recreation room. You can, if that is something that everybody agrees to. That is one application, but that's not the only way. So why? Why do we do this? Well, right now, the basics are And we can get into, the program gets into a lot of depth, but 78.4% of all of your seniors currently, right now, this is on average, goes up 78, 79, 68, 76, have low to absolutely no ability to smell. And most of the intakes that they may have taken, they may have smelled one thing. A proper intake, you smell four things because the brain is affiliated to four aspects of smelling. And the brain is, it's like your sense of taste. There's five taste buds. The brain actually has an ability on a very basic level to understand four major components. Specifically after COVID, a lot of people did lose their sense of smell or taste, and it dampened it or it damaged it. And the question becomes, how would you know personally if you even have a sense of smell or a good sense of smell, or if it returned? Because you may be able to smell coffee, you may be able to smell certain smells, but can you smell a spectrum? I have a trained sense of smell, so I can smell hundreds of thousands of different smells. I have what is a hypersensitive smell, no different to a musician who would have an ear, they would call it, and the ability to hear notes and vibrations and so forth. Sense of smell is something that is trained. It is educated. You learn, you practice. As you get older, you get better. It's like being a chef. You practice your recipes over and over again. You improve your taste buds. You enhance your taste buds. If you've never eaten a bolognese sauce, you don't know what is in a bolognese sauce, and you wouldn't know how to pull out the component of pork, which is a key driver in that sauce. And so this is no different. And chefs and perfumers, we speak very similar language because smell and taste is interconnected. And one of the key things that I have learned to discover that the majority of individuals within your homes can't smell. And if they cannot smell, they don't have the ability to use their nose or olfaction. Their ability to taste is gone because the sense of smell impacts the sense of taste drastically. It also stimulates your appetite. And a lot of homes, the kitchens are nowhere near the time to eat. Individuals then say it's time to eat, or it's lunchtime, or they're very routine driven, but they're going because it's an opportunity to an activity. They possibly may or may not be hungry, but scent stimulates appetite. Scent also improves digestion readiness because it helps to increase salivation, and it also helps to create the digestive juices. This is a technique that is really helpful with children, especially fussy eaters. I know this from my own learning and my experience with my son. Everything was tactile. And if we smelled before we ate, we had a far greater experience at the dinner table. Because his ability of understanding the texture, it was very challenging. So by using scent, it became a game, it became more fun, and then the process was far easier to work with because the body was working with me. The other aspect about scent is it enhances flavor. And one of my homes that I was working with, the rec direction, the individual in recreation came to me, the director, and she said, we have this program we do of coffee hour in the morning. People come for a cup of coffee, and I'm wondering if we can enhance this because it's setting the tone for some of our programs. It's creating negativity. People are not really, they're just coming for a cup of coffee, but they're not really engaged. And I said, absolutely. So we created an opportunity using paper cups, coffee cups, keep costs down. We use cotton balls, one cotton ball in a coffee cup. And we use the 4 or 5 different smells that are known to be flavor stimulants, put a drop in the coffee cup. And then they did pairing, very similar to a wine connoisseur or a sommelier. And so it became smell the coffee, smell the smell, which happened to be maybe chocolate or vanilla or butter cake or whatever, and drink your coffee. And then talk about enhanced flavor perceptions. And could you smell it? Did it taste different? This has become a really successful program. And this home has taken this used to be 10-minute, 15-minute coffee hour into an hour and a half, which sets the tone for the day, which really helps them with some of the programs on their floor. So that was just a simple idea. And that was ability because I was working with the home. They're filling out their intake forms, which is really critical for me because I can see patterns. And then from the intake forms, they were providing me their recreation activities, and then I was helping them to pair. So you're not spending more money. I'm helping you utilize some tools that you have. Scent impacts sleep. This is one area that is studied research. We have an exorbitant amount of research. This is something that I have done all my life. This is a part of my personal ritual, and I guess this is where I get my energy source, and this is where my body and my brain, my mind, my emotional recharges. And my son specifically, I used to use scent with him because when you are sleeping, your brain is healing, it is repairing, it is replenishing. Scent enhances that. One study in particular, when you utilize scent when you sleep, and that could be as simple as adding a few drops on a tissue or a used dryer sheet, sticking it in your pillow, and smelling the scent for 15 minutes. That 15-minute engagement helps to set anxieties, not anxieties, helps to reduce stress and anxiety, specifically for individuals who can't meditate very well, whose brain is racing around. It sets a routine and it enhances sleep quality. And individuals who use scent specifically in the room, they have improved cognition by 256%. And that study is on our LinkedIn page. But it's quite fascinating on how scent impacts the brain and how it is really good for good brain health and cognition. In cognition itself, we work on using scent to boost memory and recall. We work on it to focus and attention. We have situations where individuals are possibly angry, frustrated, tyrant, maybe having a tantrum. Smelling something intimate in a second changes their brain and it shifts the focus. It helps to trigger responses. It helps to slow down the cognitive decline. And so all of these things are something that I'm not surprised, but North American society really doesn't talk about how scent is so healthy. From the isolation standpoint, this is something that is very much why I do what I do, in all honesty. My sister has used scent quite a bit. We used to play the smell game when we were kids. And she was in rehabilitation at one of my clients. And Hawthorne has quite an extensive scent therapy program. And so I would come in and I would work with her and we would open up the door to the floor. And we saw an incredible engagement of social interaction. It just really, what are you doing? It's curious, you know. Certain smells enhance moods. They create a sense of self-belonging. And it really helps to stimulate new connections and emotional connections. And I had, or my sister's ward or floor had one individual who didn't speak any English. She was Russian and she just wanted to participate, and she did. And she was smelling, and by the end of a few sessions, we could see her smiling and she felt comfortable to participate. So this is the why. Now, this is just the surface. We do a lot more. But if I could get these messages across to each and every one of you, that if we tackle olfaction from the perspective of improving the sense of smell with the individuals you're working with, we will impact these 4 areas. And then if you want to cater programs into something more specific of dementia or Parkinson's, that's what we do really well, then that's where we can really take this to the next level. But the simplicity to it is by increasing 15 minutes one-on-one or 15 minutes within a group therapy is equivalent to playing 1 hour's worth of chess. So for the brain, quite stimulating. Where are we at? How come some days it's, I don't know. Sorry. Oh, shoot. Then we moved too fast. Okay, taste. I would like to demonstrate to you taste. This is a critical component of helping you grasp and maybe teaching to your PSWs or your support teams or individuals what the person may be tasting when you provide them dinner. So we use jelly beans. It's a good opportunity. I use Jelly Bellies because there are lots of flavors, different flavors, inexpensive, and they're high sugar and rich and all that great stuff. Plus, they're fun. So I'm going to put them in my mouth, close my nose and ear, and chew. And then you release and you continue chewing. What will happen, and I encourage you to do this, it's a fun experiment. You do it at the table too with your kids. It shows how the sense of smell creates flavor and enhances flavor. And without your sense of smell, your flavoring, your taste buds are dull. And one of the number one complaints that the long-term care homes and the retirement homes, especially retirement homes, where the expectation of food quality is extremely high, they don't realize it is actually not necessarily the food, it is the perception of what they're tasting. And so a simple a smell test is something that you can start with and maybe update your intake, or when you have done scent therapy with an individual, you now know how well they smell. It's on a gauging system. We teach you how to grade it. So Mrs. Smith may have a 3, and then over 6 months, you've noticed it's declined. Well, that would be something that I would be concerned with, because loss of smell is an early indication of Parkinson's. There's multiple diseases we talk about how it impacts the sense of smell, as we learned through COVID. It could go also the other way. She started at 3 and now she's at a 4 because she's engaged more and her sense of smell is returning or it's improving. And when you use it, you stimulate more. And this is a great opportunity. And if you think about sensory as a whole, there's 5 senses of the body. There is touch, there is sight, there is sound, there is smell, and there is hearing, right? Sound, smell, taste. I am the 2. I am very taste smell driven. However, other people are focusing on, maybe they're very visual. Maybe some people respond extremely well with audio. And I'm sure all of you have those experiences with music therapy, because smell and music are similar. It's a vibration. And we talk about how it impacts the brain and why it works the way it does. Now, what are the tools we work with? Well, we work with a scent kit. It looks like this, and it's on the screen. We provide you multiple written materials because I identify, I've been teaching for a very long time, and teaching adults is very different. And so there are different ways to teach so that we retain the information. And so I provide this. We do a webinar-based program, and we provide you as much of the tools possible to educate you within the stages. And we break it down into 4 modules. And we only focus on 5 smells at a time because it can be overwhelming. And my goal is never to overwhelm any of the staff or individuals that I'm working with, because I am actually very acutely aware of the type of work you do on a daily basis and how everything pivots and changes possibly within minutes to hours. So some of you may have received a scent kit, and I hope you did, because I sent it out with the mail with you if you registered enough time, but Canada Post, God bless them. So when you get that kit, if you, I have one or two individuals who are on the call who have participated, who are in the program right now, and they sent their staff as a bit of a refresher. The scent that we would work with right now is rosemary, and that is, we teach how to smell, we teach what to do. So we work with pure essential oils, no alcohol, solvents, extracts. You use one drop, and we provide you a blotter paper. Oh, we got two there. You provide one drop, and this scent stick is fascinating. This is what we use in the industry. We've used it for years. This is what our evaluators work with when we're creating fragrance. But the paper is very important. I import this from France. And so these sticks allow us, it holds, but it allows the scent to diffuse. And so it's paper, it's disposable. The whole process costs less than 6 cents for a variety of applications, and that can be 4 or 5 cents in this. So it's very inexpensive, disposable, safe, and you wave and you have your mouth open. And the reason I love working with rosemary, the research on rosemary specifically as it relates to Parkinson's is fascinating. It stimulates an area of the brain that we're not aware of, we don't understand. But for people who have lost their sense of smell for decades, for decades, all of a sudden when they start smelling rosemary, the brain wakes up. It oxygenates an area of their brain. And this is an area where I hope more research goes. But in the meantime, when you're working with someone who has never smelt in a long time and then they can smell something, they get really excited. They're present. They're a part of it. They want to be in the room. So it has a wonderful impact on the people around them. The other reason is right now, I'm assuming that some of you are doing gardens. So the fragrant garden. So you would grow rosemary, but instead of just growing rosemary, we associate the smell with the seeds or the smell with the plant, because when you harvest it, if you take the rosemary plant, and this is one activity we teach in module 4, how to add scent. So we would focus on a scented garden versus just a garden, because when you take this and you rub it in your hand and you smell, it transfers the rosemary herb onto your hand. Now, this is a self-help. This is a self recommendation for sure, because every time I cook, I have herbs all through my kitchen, fresh herbs, or if you use dry spices, if you smell them beforehand, this 15-minute, this engages you when you're cooking. For some of us, cooking is not an exciting tool. This is a great opportunity to re-engage, as well as it's an opportunity now from an inexpensive standpoint to get some herbs and have a little flower pot, whether you live in a condo or in a home. The other scent that is in that scent kit is waffle. And these are blends that I have created that are specific, because obviously there's no natural scent of waffle, but it is what my work is. And so it has a smell of waffle. It's got some burnt sugar, caramel. It has golden notes. It's actually kind of interesting. So if you had this and you paired it with coffee, for example, that day, there's a flavor to this. Now, when you're stimulating for appetite stimulation, you're not necessarily using these types of smells. What you're doing is you're stimulating the brain or calming the brain down, because some people may be more agitated. And one of the things that we are aware of is some of the homes that I was working on specifically for a pilot, working with scent and smell, we discovered that lavender is not really the end-all be-all. We were working with lemon, which has limonene in it, which is a stimulant, and individuals in later stages of Alzheimer's slept better. And that makes complete sense to me because it stimulates the body and it calms the body down. And I worked on a very large project that was worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And there's no way the company would have proceeded if it didn't create the ROI. And the return on investment was very clear. And we use sense to stimulate, and it was in an airport in particular, where the airport was very high stress, high frustrated, lots of complaints, and we used sense to stimulate the area so that people would calm down. And it really had a drastic impact. So this did not surprise me. This was all part of the intake process. We start to see patterns within the intake, and this helps me to customize a generalized program specifically for your home, because we all know each and every one of you have very different homes, needs, and requirements. So how do we make this specific to you? The training is web-based. So it is a web-based module, very similar to what we're doing today. You get a tape. Some of the clients that we work with are across the board. I deal with various different organizations. Family Council of Ontario, Alzheimer's Society. I'm a member of Advantage Ontario. I do work with the Region Appeal. We have programs with day, we do long-term care, we do rehabilitation. I'm focusing with Amica right now on memory care. There's a variety of different ways we implement this, and this is where I help each of you figure out where you would like to work with it or where you feel the area could be the best place to start. Oh, here we go again. Oh, there we go. I'm so sorry. I feel foolish with my computer, but it must be my mouse is low or something, maybe my keyboard. So how do we do this? Well, the cost of it is $5,400 and plus HST. It's unlimited staff. So you can have as many staff, and I acknowledge your staff as high turnaround. And so we retrain and train the staff. This is something they have access to the videos. We provide you 4 75-minute web-based training programs that you customize the times that work for you, and then I work with you. We have intake forms that are basically a Google Doc that would be on an iPad, 6 or 7 questions. We do not disrupt privacy laws in this country. Our focus is the scent. Our focus is not the patient. That is what makes us different, because we're starting to see this specifically applied in your target market, which then is showing us areas like the lemon with Alzheimer's and sleep. And so when we do our monthly meetings and our monthly updates in our newsletter, we share best practices with everybody. In Ontario, there is an Ontario Wellness Grant that has been topped up for April 2025. It is kicked off. I have that document. And unlike any of the other provinces, which I've learned, it is an envelope system. So I'm working on interprovincial trade with ministers in various different provinces, because they don't realize how successful Ontario's wellness grant is of training, providing tools for music therapy, scent therapy, specifically targeting isolation and mental health. We offer net 30 days. We also work with open invoice. We provide in the cost of the tools a kit, which helps to get you started for 20 beds. You have options to purchase more kits. We have a referral system that provides you discounts if you have more than one home. And we do PDF workbooks, monthly newsletters, research, and we provide family tools and family support. The next steps is basically a waiver. We would send you an invoice, and then we would start the training with you. It is something that you cater towards. Now, I can do a call if that's something that is required, but this is how we execute next steps. Now, where we go again? There we go. We have an online store, and my oils are imported everywhere in the world except the United States. I took a very specific Canadian approach, and I changed some of my major suppliers in the citrus categories where we only work with Italy and France and various different regions. We're not buying from the States. And the reason I did that is because I did not want tariffs to interfere with the price point of the product. And I also did not want, to be in a position where Donald Trump says something on X and then everything goes haywire and distribution gets changed. So I can guarantee that we have good, really good quality oils because we track them. We do have one diffuser we work with that does not need water. It is something we recommend because it's on a timer. You can plug it in and you can move it around. And it is something that if some homes are using specifically for programs like bathing, where they're scenting the bathrooms before they're putting the individual in to create a calm, relaxing environment because they know individuals get agitated. It is a tool we have, and we provide really good bulk pricing. There's books available that I've written, and then we obviously provide you the scent sticks. Now, if you don't want to use scent sticks, which is not something that is mandatory, cotton balls and coffee cups work because this is just like it's a fabulous tool. So there's ways that we help. We really are focused on trying to provide you the best ways to implement this. Now, learning. Number one component of why I do this, where to go and what to do. So we have a YouTube series of lots of really fun little videos for self-care, what to do with essential oils, how to use essential oils. I have a TED Talk. LinkedIn is somewhere where we do a lot of really great engagement with the community, specifically within the fragrance industry. We have a group called the Olfactive Group. I highly recommend you to join. But we have lots of research that is being published on a regular basis from some of the largest institutions in the world that is directly connected to scent, Alzheimer's, dementia, olfaction, aging. I pay attention to this extremely closely. I am a director at CARP, and so I'm very much aware of ageism, and I'm very much aware of how this is a very much an area that is of interest. In June 11th and 12th, I'm at the Family Councils of Ontario conference, and we obviously have on our website lots and lots and lots of information. So my goal is to help everybody. I'm going to stop sharing. My goal is to help everybody find the tools that they need to create what they're looking for. Now, does anybody have any particular questions that they may have, or did you find this informative, or is there anything I could help you with? Anybody? Okay. Well, I will add right now in the chat, I'm going to add a file. And this is a document. It's from my computer, right? Yes, it is. Okay. And this is a report that we did last year, or on 2024, on some of the results that we're getting. And so I'll share that with you. And it provides, I may have sent it to you prior, but it's summary of results. No, this one is a larger one, actually. And it's a PDF. If you can download it, that's great. It is an extensive program. I was wondering what your experience was like with long-term care homes. Well, that's all I work with. Right now, our program is in 650 long-term care homes. That's the only market. We are just starting to do some work with the retirement. And the Region Appeal, I should say that, because the Region Appeal has long-term care homes, but they also do day programs, and they're also affiliated to the hospital with the butterfly model. So that is the whole program, to be totally honest, is targeted towards long-term care. We have reference letters from our homes if there's other individuals you want to speak to. We know in Ontario the cost of the program is 100% covered because all of our clients have received the funding for it and they've never had any issues. And right now I'm working with the ministry to update the document to specifically say scent therapy is covered in the program. They're expanding. I've done some education with the ministry of new areas of focus, and they're updating that. Located in Ottawa. Ottawa is a new region, but I would be more than willing to work with Ottawa. You're still in Ontario, so you would get the funding for sure. My pleasure. Anybody else have any other questions? I appreciate this opportunity to share my work with you. I have so much, and I try not to overwhelm you, which I'm trying to give you what I can so that you can walk away. If there are three major takeaways as a TED speaker that I like to do is I hope you understand that smell, olfaction, is a critical part of our day-to-day lives. And each and every one of us can do some simple behaviors by just smelling the coffee we drink, smelling the food before we eat them, and somehow implementing 15 minutes of scent stimulation. It is so imperative to the cognition to our brains. The second thing is if I can share with you, there's a support system that is happening because we are starting to see obviously pressure within the provinces to bring costs down on healthcare, but to increase quality. This is an opportunity and a tool to do that from the perspective that sometimes you're dealing with individuals that are not eating, not because of any reason that you haven't thought about, but they can't smell and they can't taste and they're not stimulated or excited about eating. These things can help reduce some costs with better nutritional meals, making them feel better, reducing supplements. We have seen a decrease in anxiety, anti-anxiety medication in some of our homes because of the engagement of the program. And thirdly, this is also an opportunity for your staff. And this is an opportunity for your staff to try a different tool, but to also impact them. Because when you are doing scent therapy, you're smelling. And if you're doing a one-on-one session with an individual, they are also smelling and feeling the benefits of what we're doing as well. And so I always try to incorporate a more holistic approach to what we're doing. And everything we're focused on is science and best case practices. And we follow Canadian health regulatory compliance to a T. And so we want to ensure that what we're doing is a very safe alternative. And it just opens up the door to a new form of wellness for your homes. I want to thank you again for your time today. It's 10 minutes prior to the hour. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me. I'm going to put my email directly. And I will follow up with you all with this recording in a YouTube. And if you want to share it, you're more than welcome to. Thank you again. I very much appreciate it. If you have any questions, please let me know. Okay. Well, have a great day, everyone. I thank you for your time, and I hope to speak to you soon. Bye.